Okay, example 6, using those trig identities. So it says, let theta be an angle in quadrant 3 such that sine of theta is equal to -5/13. Find A, secant of theta, and B, tangent of theta by using trig identities. I know there's other ways to do this, guys, but the direction says use trig identities, and that's what we're looking for. All right, so first we're looking for secant. Well, first we're in quadrant 3. So let's think about that. In quadrant 3, let me draw my little, all students take calculus. What does this tell me again? It tells me where my trig functions are, positive. In quadrant 3, I see a t. So only tangent and its reciprocal are positive. So I know that this is going to be positive, but what about secant? Well, secant's not tangent or its reciprocal cotangent, so secant's going to be negative. So I went ahead and marked those so I don't forget. All right, what can I use to get from sine to secant? Look through your identities and see if you see anything. All right, I don't see anything that directly relates me sine to secant, but I know secant is the reciprocal of cosine, and there is a Pythagorean identity that has sine and cosine in it. So if I can find cosine, I can take the reciprocal of it to find secant. So let's try that. So for A, to find secant of theta, we know, remember, that's going to be 1 over cosine of theta. So if we had cosine of theta, we could finish this part here. So, but we do know that sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. So let's see, sine is -5/13 squared plus cosine squared equals 1. So -5/13 squared is 25/169 plus cosine squared equals 1. Subtract that 25/169 and use your calculator if you need to, or get your common denominator, but you'll get 144/169. Got to take the square root to get rid of the square. And so we find that cosine of theta is plus or minus square root of 144, which is 12, over the square root of 169, which is 13. Which means secant of theta is going to be plus or minus 13 over 12 because it's the reciprocal, right? Now, which one are we after, the positive or the negative? Well, we said we're in quadrant 3 and secant's going to be negative, so our answer is going to be secant of theta equals a negative 13 over 12. All right, so there's A. Let's look at B. B is looking for tangent of theta. Well, what can I do to find tangent of theta if I know sine? There's not a lot with just sine that I can see or think of. So I may have to use some of what I already found. Now, if I know cosine and I know sine, I can use that. Or I can use the Pythagorean identity that 1 plus tangent squared equals secant squared. So I'm going to go ahead and use that one, but you could use one of the other ones. So to find tangent of theta, I'm going to use 1 plus tangent squared equals secant squared. So 1 plus, we don't know tangent squared, or tangent, but we do know that secant is -13 over 12. And I know I'm taking a chance using a previous answer that I'll make a mistake, but I don't see any other route this time. So I keep working this, so 1 plus tangent squared equals 169 over 144. Subtract the 1, so either put in your calculator or get that common denominator. You get 25 over 144. Take the square root. So we get tangent is equal to plus or minus square root of 25 is 5, or square root of 144 is 12. But remember, now we're in quadrant 3 and we know tangent's positive. Oops, I forgot my theta on both of these. So let me squeeze that in there. Tangent of theta, what I was saying is tangent is going to be positive in quadrant 3, so we're looking for the positive 5/12. That's not the only way you could have worked it. You could have used your quotient identities on that one to be able to get it, because you knew sine and you'd found cosine. So you have to be careful, because on cosine you had to think what was the sine of it. But, well, actually you didn't have to think what was the sine of it too much because you squared it. But, anyways, either way you'll come out with the tangent of theta is 5/12.